Good evening! Welcome to another Strange Normal. We're getting back on schedule, folks, because we've been out of it for a little while, but every Sunday night from now on, you should get another perfect stream from us. Tonight is Tuesday, and we're doing this a little bit differently, but we're going to talk a little bit about the egg that Jake Barber has found. If you've been following the news lately, you know a little bit about what's going on with Jake Barber and his newest whistleblower. But we're going to talk further about what's going on with that, how it relates to Bible prophecy, the understanding of this from the occult side. You're going to want to stick around for this whole thing because I've got two guests tonight, and they are somewhat related. Stick around. We'll see you soon.
The system is totally rigged and broken.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the SA. My gosh.
Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of 5 distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet.
It is now 89 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been.
I still think these are what people call angels. I'm dying to know what they've got to say.
Pretty severe suffering brings them.
These entities have the ability to appear in any form.
Let me unmute myself and say, welcome to Strange Normal. My name is Bradley. We talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal world to give you a biblical view of what is going on. And there's a lot going on. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon so you're notified when things like this happen. I'm going to bring my guests straight in tonight. You might know these two fine people. Hi, Mikey. Hi, Aubrey. How are you?
What's up, Brad? Doing good. How are you, man?
Good, good. You know, I brought both of you in tonight because I think you both have a very good idea of what's going on, and especially, both of you. But I appreciate what Aubrey has to say about a lot of this stuff because I hear what she has to say on the various platforms. She's been on your own channel primarily, so I think it would be interesting to pick both of your brains on this topic because the egg thing. It's a very strange thing that's happened recently in the mainstream media. What do you guys think?
Yeah. So if you don't know what channel Brad's talking about, it's Candid Truth. That's me and my wife, and we have a channel called Candid Truth if you guys want to check it out. But Aubrey, my wife here, she's really good, like Brad was saying, about breaking down pagan origins of things. So you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I kind of govern that aspect of things usually on our channel, and as it pertains to this topic, it is very related. Like, there's so much pagan origins and mythologies and cosmologies going on that I hope we can break down for you and make it a little more clear as to how it defines where we're going.
Yeah, we will forewarn you. This was kind of last minute, and last night we were going through some books that we have and doing some research, and it was just like, man, she had a book open, I had a book open. When she was looking at something, I was like, it's saying the same thing over here. So just to give you kind of an idea, this is Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, and then This is called Revolve. This is by Aaron Franz. He's actually a Christian believer who's exposing the transhuman movement back in 2012 is when this book came out. Morals and Dogma came out in like the 1800s. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a Freemason book written by this guy named Albert Pike. And the reason we have it is because it really exposes that whole society. They claim to be just a good guy club and all this, but they openly admit in here that they worship Lucifer, the light bearer, a lot of stuff. And so we were just kind of flipping through, and it was totally Holy Spirit and guided, because we didn't know where we were looking. I was just like flipping through, and I was like looking at the context. I was like, do I see egg in here or anything? And we were just like, whoa, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. So we're excited to share some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But it will not be like, what's the right word? Like,
it won't be extensive.
Like, it won't be deep dive. Yeah.
You can go pretty
We
deep
don't have
into
time
this.
for that.
Yeah. And I pulled a few things out too. I'm excited because I mentioned it to you just the other day. I thought I really want to dig into this egg thing, and I was gonna plan to go live last night, but I was like, yeah, this needs a little bit more research to do. So we're gonna dig into that and a little further. I also want to tell everyone that we've been doing a series in Alabama at a church called the Narrow Way Church. I've been. I always say we because I'm trying to be inclusive, but what I'm saying is I was there.
Strange Normal.
And I was down there, and I just finished it, and I am now back on schedule, so we can continue Sunday nights instead of weird
10
live nights.
presentations, right?
Yeah, 9, and 9.
It was, oh my goodness,
8 and a testimony. But yeah, it was a full week for me, making sure I had those things ready and prepared out of all the research.
So you got some great content lined up for Strange Normal now, right?
yeah. We're gonna be posting
That's
those
awesome.
one by one as time progresses. But I thought it would be good to also cover the main events of what's happening recently in the news, and so this was one of them. I'm gonna pull up my stuff here real quick. My what's it called? My notes. We're going to cover, I kind of wanted to overview everyone. We've done one video on Jake Barber, but News Nation took it down. And so I really want to outline and understand what we are talking about, because they had some good reasons. We didn't really provide a lot of change material. It was just so incredible. I think we were just kind of sitting there with our mouths open, or at least I was. But I took some of the main snippets out of it that we can really say a lot about. And we're going to go over that stuff just so we can understand where this egg thing came from. And then we'll start talking about the egg. So that's without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit about that first. And I have first on my agenda, it says Oversight Committee, but I don't think I have that one first. I have no ET. He knows for the fact that there are aliens. So this is where Jake Barber gets out there and he says, look, I know for a fact that we have an NHI. There's something else talking to us. And he says there's no evidence for this, for aliens out there from extraterrestrials, but he says that we have plans moving forward to create a private community. I want to talk a little bit about this, so I'll be thinking of the topics that we're going to discuss, but here we go. We're going to cut over to that now.
Very recently, the Pentagon spokesman assured press reporters in a Pentagon briefing that there is no evidence of extraterrestrial engagement with planet Earth. Is that true?
No, that's not true. Now, they like to hang their hat on some key words there, extraterrestrial. So that means outside of the planet Earth. And that is yet to be determined by my best understanding.
So you're saying you know for a fact there are aliens?
Yes, 100%.
There are alien craft?
100%.
Have you been involved in the recovery of those alien craft?
Well, Ross, yes, I have. From what we're being told, there is no evidence of extraterrestrial presence here. There is no evidence of non-human intelligence. There's a little bit of admittance and evidence that there's something anomalous in the sky flying around and we don't know what it is. So the bad news is I can't really help further that question that everyone wants answered. But the good news is I'm going to begin to be able to start answering that question. And that's the primary reason I'm here to speak to you today. We are moving forward in an official and transparent capacity to explore the answer to these questions that there appears to be no evidence for. And our number one goal now is to function in a private capacity with the backing of venture capitalists and in coordination with some of the most key departments in the government in order to start answering these questions in a transparent way related to the UAP topic. I'll paraphrase the book of Matthew. You will know us by our fruits. So I'd like to invite you to stay tuned in and watch what our new project is about to do and prepare to be dazzled.
So you're part of a team that is proposing to do private retrievals of alien technology.
Yes. Yes.
And you've got the backing for it?
Yes.
All right, let's pause right there. Let's talk about this for a second.
Wow, dude.
So there's a lot packed in here, right? Have you seen this full interview? This is the full 2 hours that they came out with, not just the short one. It's
no, I have not. But I know, the last time you had clips of him on the show, you showed where he was wearing a hat that said Trinity Aviation and how it was a overtly Christian aviation company, but there was no, you couldn't really prove if he was Christian or not. But it's weird that he's wearing a Christian hat. Now he's saying, let me quote the book of Matthew. So he seems to be giving little nods that he's a Christian. Why would you even say, you'll know them by their fruit? He could have said, I'll walk the walk, or I'll prove it to you. He could have said any other thing, but he quoted the book of Matthew. So now we got him and Chris Bledsoe, which I think is interesting. 2 open Christians who are saying, I've had encounters with beings that are alien, and both of them said it's possessed me. I don't know if I'm like jumping the gun or if you're going to show those clips.
Yeah, I will. And okay, I'm also going to show a new clip that I didn't have in the last one because this the full interview hadn't come out yet. But this one, in the full interview, they cut a part out that said that he actually starts talking about angels and demons and what these psionic group is actually talking about when they try to communicate with these things. Very, very weird stuff. Very strange.
So they said they cut that part out?
Since it wasn't in the original short 45-minute or whatever it is interview, they then released the full 2 hours and some odd minutes or however long it was on YouTube. And so I've been scrubbing through that and understanding what they were actually saying. And I remember thinking, wow, I don't remember that in the first one. So they had cut it out. Yeah. There's a lot that falls on the cutting room floor when you do an interview, but they had released all the footage. But what I thought was interesting about this one, and this is essentially for the audience and also for YouTube, because I have to, for fair use, you have to make sure that you're doing something that changes the talk about this. And I have plenty to change about this because it's absolutely not what they're expecting. He says that they don't have any evidence that they come from outer space. They don't. And Roger Murnau says that they will claim to be inhabitants from far distant galaxies coming to Earth, but they haven't talked to us yet. That's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
I also go ahead.
Some of the other whistleblower guys, I can't remember his name now, Greg or whatever, he was saying that we communicate with non-human intelligences. So what is the communication that they're not telling? Like, well, I haven't heard anything like this is what, this is a transcript of what the non-human intelligence has been telling us, They just say that they're in contact with them, in communication with them.
Right.
So I'd be curious to know what they're saying.
Yeah, and for anybody also that is just listening to this and they're brand new watching this channel, they're probably thinking this guy's a little bit nuts. He's talking about UFO craft that they're retrieving. I want to remind everyone, too, that in the Bible, we have seen this. What? You've seen UFOs that have been retrieved? No. You've seen physical deceptions from Satan in the Bible. It was by the magicians of Egypt that were able to duplicate the couple of the beginning things that were done by God. Snakes, right? I think, was it frogs, one of them? But
the flood,
even turning the water to blood and all that. I think, ironically, one of them they couldn't do was bring the frogs up, which seems kind of like a simple thing, but
or the
also,
lice.
yeah, and like 90% of these sightings have skyrocketed. When we were younger, you know, it was very rare. Some farmer on a field, everybody thought he was just some, you know, hillbilly redneck. But now everybody has a camera on them. You know, back when we were growing up, it was like you had a camera that had 30 shots in it, and you have to get it developed and all that stuff. Now you can take thousands of pictures. Everybody has one, and so these things are skyrocketing. Now what I'm getting at is there's no chalking this up anymore as that dude's just a lunatic. We have video evidence. This on the news and everything now, and they're even saying they're having U.S. congressional hearings about this stuff. And where was I going with this?
Yeah,
there's talking about that this is real. Okay, but 90% of what people are seeing, and I'm just, you know, kind of making that number up, but 90% of what people are seeing are glowing things flying around the sky. They're not saying what I saw was metallic. I saw nuts and bolts. I saw a window with beings inside. They're seeing something fly around, but because of all the movies and the propaganda and everything that we've been spoon-fed our whole life, even before we were born, and sci-fi novels and all that, when we see something flying in the sky, we automatically associate it with that must be aliens flying a craft. When literally these are things that have been seen since the beginning of time, and people associated with spiritual things. But Satan has twisted this into a mythology of beings from other worlds that are physical. They're flying in crafts from millions of light years away. And now we associate it with that instead of a spiritual aspect.
Yeah.
But now, ironically, now some of these people are tying in the spiritual aspect too.
To your point, I actually have a clip exactly about that. I'm going to skip ahead and probably really mess myself up, but I'm going to show you anyway. I'm going to show you what I've seen here, because I think Jake Barber says that exact same thing. He says, look, we've been preempted by media to believe this thing. Check this out.
Wow.
By any chance, was there a nickname for the egg?
Yeah, the egg we actually called Nanus, like from the Mork and Mindy show from the 70s.
Mork and Mindy.
Because it's ridiculous. That's exactly what it looked like. And so it's funny when you look back at what may have been the motivation for the 1970s. Because where else would they? Then egg is a ridiculous idea for a guy from Mort from Ork, right? So you have Mort from Ork who flew to Earth in an egg. It surely gives credit to the idea that some like to think that perhaps there was a PR program that utilized our fascination with Hollywood and television to paint pictures of actual fact as fiction, making it now some weird hybrid you could call faction.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's essentially right here. He's saying that there has been some push. I mean, you can see this all over the place. Let me see if I can bring up some of these clips. I apologize for completely taking everyone off their thing here. But look, Alien, it's got an egg on it, and also you've got what is this other one? Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy. Yeah, that's what he was just talking about.
Yeah.
Nanu.
So there's no doubting that there has been, if not just by spiritual entities impregnating the idea in writers to include this stuff, or maybe a little more physical. I hear something in here. A dog. One of my dogs.
Sorry. Did you have something else?
Yeah, if you hear something, it's my dog. Go ahead.
No, we'll probably unpack this more, especially with some of the sources we're going to show, but the fact that you're saying that it's been planted kind of in writers for Hollywood in their mind or in their stories, and also in our culture, basically, it does seem to show itself. There's if I can just summarize, it's throughout a lot of the cultures that exist that they've all had a story that involves a deity coming down in an egg of some sort, or laying an egg, which sounds really strange, but they do. And yeah, we'll get there. But that is the connection in a dot that you have to kind of circle and go, okay, let's take a look at this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was thinking, is everybody lacking creativity with this egg thing, or are they being inspired by the same spirit to tell the same story? Just like every Hollywood movie is always about the villain has all these attributes of Yahweh or Christ, and the heroes are always based off of Greek, Roman, Norse gods or mutants or something degraded that has to fight against like one tyrannical being that's coming to earth to cleanse it and all these things. Like there's always this reverse gospel in
Sorry, just a second.
What is that?
Something's playing in the background. Go for it.
Yeah, there's all like, is there really that much of a lack of creativity from these writers, or are they being inspired by the same spirit? I think the same spirits are inspiring writers to make the same story repackaged just enough to where we don't even notice it. That's what's mind blowing. When the blinders fall off and you see the template, you see it over and over and over. Like I can't even, every movie I see advertised now, I'm like, yep, same movie. And it's like, how are people not catching on to this?
Yeah, I agree. And it almost looks, what are they? Are they using an egg again, or they're using spirits again, or they're using New Age stuff again? Can't they think of something? No, they know what works, and it's worked in the past. It's going to work again, and I truly believe that we're seeing nothing new under the sun. We're going to see this over and over again. And so it's good to be wise to the deception beforehand, which is the point of this channel. So
yes,
I wanted to kind of bring that idea, and probably no one's heard him talk about the egg and retrieving it with a helicopter and all this stuff. So I thought it would be good to actually show that clip. So here it is real quick, and we'll talk about it.
How close did you get?
Well, I was a helicopter pilot, and I operate with 150 foot to 200 foot long line. So I got within 150 feet of this object.
What did you see?
I saw an egg, a white egg.
How large was the object?
I would say approximately 20 feet, plus or minus a little bit, about the size of a large SUV.
Did it have any seams?
No.
What? And it was pure white?
It was like pearly white, like a metallic pearly white, the best I could assess.
I mean, what you're describing sounds like something out of a TV show.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I'm going to share some images with you, and you can see one of these flying in the sky, if you like, in broad daylight.
So you actually saw it in the sky before it...
No, not this one. But in our new venture, we've already begun work, and we're capturing sensor data of the exact same craft flying in the sky.
All right.
I have not seen that footage.
Yeah. So the footage he's talking about is the green footage that we'll show in a second of the
when he said flying in the sky.
Oh yeah, no. So what he's saying here is that he says the government has been gifted these things by a department called the psionics group. And psionics, if you look up that word, it has something to do with being able to control stuff with your mind, telekinesis, all that woo-woo stuff that is more prevalent in the occult than. And we can't control stuff with our minds. That's not, Christianity has nothing in the Bible about controlling stuff with our minds. So we know this is a cult.
So, right, I was gonna say, to clarify what you're saying, if somebody's listening, they're like, "Well, I know you can. I've seen people do it." They are being deceived. So the spirit world has like these rules of engagement, and so it's the whole myth of the vampire. He can't come in your house or your window unless you invite him in, right? That all just is basically starting with demons. That's fallen angels, demons. They cannot have access into your life unless you give them an open door. And I believe in our culture, we've accepted wicked things that we should have never accepted, and it's been normalized, and we have things in our home that we shouldn't have, whether that's movies that have perversion in it, or music that has all kinds of perversion, or idols that we just think are decoration. all these things that we are doing, or if you're just curious and you pull out a Ouija board, people say, it's just a board game. There's no harm in it. It is just a board game. It's just a piece of cardboard. But when you pull that out, what are you telling the spirit world? What are you telling anybody that sees you pull that out? You're wanting to communicate with something. Mm-hmm. So the demons are seeing that and they're like, all right, they're giving us an open door. They want to communicate. We will communicate. If you pull out tarot cards, same thing. If you pull out a crystal ball and you start gazing into it, asking questions, you are given an invitation. And so when you start gazing at these UFOs and showing interest, you're also allowing them to have access into your life. And so when it comes to magic, witchcraft, occult practices, yes, there is power in that stuff, but it's not from you. It's not from these crystals. It's not from the herbs. It's the same. It's the same philosophy. Like when you start rubbing that crystal and thinking that it's healing you or giving you some kind of power, then demons begin to do stuff. So when you think you have telekinetic powers to move an object and you start focusing on something and like, I want to make that chair move, and you start, really trying to do that, demons are going to begin to move things in your space and make you believe that it's your power. Same with, remote viewing and all that stuff. That's nothing more than astral projection. New Age people have been doing this for years, coming out of their body and floating around and seeing whatever they want to see. Even hallucinogenic drugs can make you blast out of your body and all these things. So it's not some kind of inner self power. This is, you have surrendered to demons and given them power in your life to do things. And it seems fun and powerful for a while, but that road ultimately leads to destruction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does. And it made me think of kind of a funny thing I posted in Discord just recently, Mikey. You said the telekinesis, how it's not of us that we're doing, but it's some other demonic entity. I saw this funny thing. I'm going to see if I can do it here. Let me see. All right, that was not it. It was that, but it was supposed to be. For some reason, it's not coming up. But it's a reel, and they put music to it. But it's this guy. I'll just describe it because it's in the Discord. But it's in the funny channel down there. But what it is, it's this guy. He's going to the door. And it says at the top, if the deception wouldn't be as good if we could see demons. And so you got this guy pretending he's a demon, and he's holding the door going,
oh yeah.
And he's like floating like a picture across the wall, and he's running over there, and it looks really funny because you can see this guy, and he's pretending that you can't see him. But
I thought about that with some of these magicians that go on, like what are those? I don't even know what the names of these shows are anymore. America's Got Talent or whatever. And some of these magicians are doing things that look like, I have no clue how this is an illusion, but it's something so simple like making a ball levitate and float around, and everybody's just like, whoa, and they're like so shocked, and it's like some demons just going like this, like, woo. It does seem goofy.
So,
and the demons are like, look how easy it is to mesmerize these people. Like,
yeah. And they're just like, this works. We live longer, and we are invisible. We can be out of phase with reality, or however that works. The veil, they can drop in front of our eyes. So we're completely off our script, but I thought it would be good to actually look at that. Do you want to see the egg video that he brought out real quick so we can actually understand what we're talking about here? Let me bring that up. And to do that, I'm going to have to do a little bit of math here, but because I don't really have this all together. We're at number 4, and if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll bring me to the video. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here we go.
And the thing I find shocking, though, is that the most beautiful thing that you've described to me, the most exciting.
There it is.
I'm not sure how he knows there's no seams on that thing.
Let's slow this down to take a closer look. That's an egg-shaped UAP suspended from a 150-foot long line. We're told the craft is about 20 feet long, the egg suspended in a cradle. And look how careful the pilot is as they bring their precious cargo into land. Let's freeze frame here to look at one of the clearest images of a UAP ever taken. This is no blurry light in a distant sky. The source of the footage putting themselves at incredible risk to record this UAP retrieval. Look at how perfectly smooth the craft is. No markings at all, and no visible means of propulsion or way to see inside. Watch how it rolls, almost graceful as it hits the ground, despite being wrapped in the ropes and canvas from the cradle as it's dropped for pickup. The UAP's final destination still unknown.
All right, so I can already hear the comments. Oh, come on, is this for real? I mean, this is interesting because folks, they were taking this at face value. This is on the news. This is mainstream right now. We're talking about this stuff, and they're saying that these are the things that are gliding around in the atmosphere, and there's a few different kind of them, and they glow. There's no seams on them. Something else. What's inside this thing? And I thought we should look into the occult understanding of this so that we know if this has happened in the past to other cultures, what do we expect is going to happen in the future? Because there's no eggs in the Bible. And so let's just dig into this and understand it. Put it in the back of our head. Don't treat it as biblical, but I think it's worth actually looking into.
Right. I agree. I mean, I think Satan has a playbook. He has his own prophecies. And if we understand, the Bible says, do not be ignorant of his devices to expose darkness. And that's what we're doing when we look at the things that these channeled writers and everything are saying and predicting these prophecies about 2025 and 2026 and all that stuff. It is very smart to look at those things and pay attention to those things and to warn others of what's coming, because Satan is openly telling you his plan. Yeah. And it could be thwarted, but I believe that he's had a plan for all kinds of major events that have happened in our time period. I won't even specify any of them, like 9/11 or anything, but I just think there are things that happen in our life that are big events that play a big role, and they aren't exactly like we're told. Like, it's not just some fluke accident or terrorist act or whatever. I think that there are plans, order out of chaos. That's what Satan loves to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would dump the JFK files in there for sure. And
yeah,
so that's
good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they just came out in the media. I'm not. Let me rephrase this. What's going on right now is this channel I'm trying to make as legit as possible, and it's hard because this whole topic has been illegitimate for a long time. And so what I'm pulling out is mainstream media. In the mainstream media from Congress, just this last week, we've had Congress come out and say, by the way, we think there's a second shooter at the JFK files. Yeah. And so
that too.
There's wild things happening right now around this. And actually, I have a clip about that. Let me see if I can find it. This is it right here. I just happen to have this in here.
Wow.
Thank you all for being here. Today is a great day for transparency in America, because today I'm proud to announce the creation of the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. This task force will be a part of the House Oversight Committee and led by the very talented and persistent Congresswoman from Florida, Anna Paulina Luna. During her time on the Oversight Committee, Representative Luna is a sledgehammer against government secrecy. She is committed to throwing open the windows for the American people to allow the sunlight of truth shine on the federal government. I can think of no better person in Congress to lead this task force than Representative Luna.
So I'm going to pause it right there. She goes in and talks more about the JFK files and all this other stuff that they're going to try to look into. UAP, they're looking into 9/11 they're looking into, and a lot of other things too. Not saying that everything is going to be found to be true or false, or there's going to be some secrets out of there, but I think we're going to start to cover this stuff. This is part of the strange stuff that's happening in your normal life. And so that's just like you said, Mikey.
Yeah, full disclosure, I don't trust our government. I think it's never been trustworthy. You know, you can go back as far as you want to, biblical days, Herod, Pharaoh, Hitler, Stalin, all, none of them. I do believe that the Bible tells us that Satan works through the kings of the world and stuff. And so, I mean, he's the God of this world. So of course he's going to work through the rulers of this world. And I believe he has a plan for New World Order and Mark of the Beast and all these things that prophecy clearly say that is not a conspiracy theory. It's prophecy. If you're a Bible believer, you're a conspiracy theorist. I mean, you have to believe that there are conspiracies going on behind the scenes. And so I'm always trying to figure out, like, what is the spin on this thing? Like, when they're doing this, like, everything's coming to light. Mm-hmm. I think that the plan is to bring everything out to light so that the people, the citizens, just feel like we can't trust anything. You know, that we're looking for some kind of Messiah, basically, that Satan is bringing this world to us, a place of hopelessness, a place of chaos, a place of confusion, to where we're like, we need something. We need some kind of savior. And that's when Satan's going to appear as the cosmic Christ. And so with some of this stuff like P. Diddy and Nickelodeon and the JFK files and all this stuff coming out to light, I think it's really just, I think it's purposefully happening at this time. What are the chances that all of this is happening right now?
Right.
I mean, literally, like this year, like all this stuff's coming out. I think it's literally planned to happen at this time to prepare us to receive the Antichrist, the false Messiah that's going to appear, which is Satan.
Which is exactly what... So I was reading not only Morals and Dogmas a little bit to get this information, but Helen Blavatsky, she's an occult leader from way back when who was a huge part of even the Nazi movement and so on. But if you go back through most of the occultists, even Aleister Crowley, this idea of an egg does come up with birthing the new Messiah of the world to come in the Golden Age.
Yeah.
Huh. Birthing
it's
the new
all
Messiah.
about, it's all about the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, which is a parallel to the phoenix rising out of the ashes. It's always about new birth out of destruction. Yeah. And it sounds so pretty. It's like, oh, it's, rebirth and all this stuff. But they have, the elitists, they have rules that they go by, these occultists. Mm-hmm. Even like, I don't know how you feel about, like, oh man, can you press a button on there? There's a low battery. Come on.
Low battery. No, I know exactly what you mean though, because that's exactly what I found too. And I don't want to steal your thunder, so I want you to tell us more. In fact, I was going to tell people, we can go two ways with this discussion right now, and I think I kind of have a feeling we're going to go with this. Everyone, it's time to pick up your phones or look at your computer real quick, because I want you to vote on something. Everyone's watching. We have about 200 people watching right now. Go ahead and hit the number 1 if you want us to prove to you that this thing that is happening with this egg thing is more spiritual. That's happening right now. We're going to talk about psionics. We can talk about how these things have landed and how they get them to land, and how they refer to these things as angels and demons. I think I'm going to go ahead and play that clip anyway. But number 2, we're going to just dive right into the understanding this egg thing, because I think that would be most interesting. So if you're into that and you want to see that, hit number 2. I'm going to go ahead and watch the chat as we start to receive some of these messages, because I want to make this a little more interactive as we dig further into this, and we're about probably 20 seconds. And I want to see what people think, because there's so much happening here. In fact, let's play the angels and demons thing real quick while people are voting, and as that's happening, that is clip number 7, and we'll see what people say. Play.
I presume you got a chance to talk to the psionics.
Yeah.
When they mentally, telepathically engaged with whatever this intelligence was, what did they tell you about it?
Well, that they refer to it as a they in a very spiritual nature, something like angels, angels and demons. Let's say there's certainly good energies and bad energies, but it's talked of in a very nebulous way like this, because no one really knows what it is. No one, especially on the psionic side, we're still trying to figure that out. We're still trying to figure out exactly what it is.
They're talking to something. They said it's like angels and demons.
crazy.
Imagine that, huh? They're talking to aliens. They say it's like angels and demons.
Wow.
Looks like the number
Good
two.
ones and bad ones.
Yeah. The good ones and bad ones. So let's talk about the egg. Looks like everyone wants to talk about the egg, and we can talk about the spiritual side of things and how the psionics team a little bit later, and understanding this egg thing, because I think that's really interesting. So if you have anything on that,
Okay.
floor is yours.
Yeah.
We definitely do.
Yeah, so I want to bring out some other things, because this egg thing is not just this one guy. Brad's been talking about Chris Bledsoe for a while. I didn't know you. I watched a video today that you did a year ago. I didn't know that, but Chris Bledsoe, self-professed Christian, says he's Pentecostal, was Baptist, turned Pentecostal, and had an experience like in 2007 or something like that, with aliens that healed him, and he believes that they're good angels. And he said that the craft looked like a red football that turned into a white egg. So I hear him also reiterating this white egg thing. And then there's right now on Newsweek, there's an article about some egg-shaped craft that they found in a cave in Antarctica or something. And there's video of it as well that looks very much like the video we just watched. Like it's night vision, hanging from a helicopter, but it's flying over mountains and stuff. So there's definitely talk of this egg thing mixed with this UAP, UFO, alien thing. And I just think it's really weird. Again, why is it all happening right now?
Right.
I never heard this stuff years ago about we found an egg,
Mm-hmm.
Did you have some on that?
No, I definitely think. Are we going to play that clip?
Yeah, so I have some slides we can look at. This is Chris Bledsoe, and I'm just showing that he calls this entity that visits him Hathor.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at Hathor, it's an Egyptian goddess, and yet this guy is a self-professed Christian. He's saying he's a Christian all the way, but he sees this being, it's a female, and he says that he believes she's the Holy Spirit. And in this...
Well, that is really weird,
Yeah.
to be honest. Because if you are not supposed to have anything to do with the gods of other cultures, then all of a sudden you're going, well, I speak to this entity that comes down to me as the goddess, Egyptian goddess of Hathor. What would God say about that?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, he said don't even mention the names of other gods.
Idolatry.
Yeah, and so I just want to look up who is Hathor. And right here on screen it says that she is the goddess of joy, love, and music. And it made me immediately think of this guy we just watched, because he said and I hope I'm not jumping the gun if you're going to show the clip, but when he obtained the craft, he said, for one, it felt like the most beautiful thing that's ever possessed him.
Yeah.
And that the spirit is still with him to this day, guiding him and all this stuff. But he said he felt joy and song. You can see it on screen right there, the closed caption. It says, and song. And I think it's interesting that she's the goddess of joy, love, and music, song, which is exactly how he described the feelings that he got. And Chris Bledsoe said the same thing, that when he encounters these beings that he feels euphoric and happy and joy and love. And this is why he believes that they're not evil, because Christians have been duped into thinking that Satan cannot bring the feeling of love and joy, that he can only bring, the fear and all these things.
Right.
But if you believe that, if you truly believe that Satan can only produce fear and hatred and all these things, then you have to believe that the New Age movement is of God. Because New Agers will tell you, this is the most peace I've ever had in my life. Since I've been doing yoga, meditation, I've started talking to ascended masters, and they're giving me prophecy and peace and love, and I just love everyone, and I love animals. I don't even eat animals. And if you believe that healing, this guy got healed, and he told his son, they have to be good angels, son, because they healed me. Well, then I guess every Reiki healer is of God as well. Crystal healing, all this stuff is of God too. Doctors a long time ago used to not even use anesthesia when they would operate on somebody. They would put them under hypnosis, simply hypnotizing somebody, and they could cut their bodies open and not even feel pain. Is that of God? No. We know this stuff's not of God. This is a deception.
Yeah. Can I show that video real quick before you go further?
Definitely.
I think that would be good to, since you mentioned it, go to show right now.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can find it real quick. Number 5. Let's play that one. Here we go.
I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. And
was it loving?
It was loving. But there was a sense of sadness at the same time. And
had you ever had an experience like this before?
No, it was a very feminine energy. I'll tell you that. It felt like the spirit of God, but not in any masculine sense that I had ever felt. It was like, again, the feeling of my mother, and my daughter, and beauty. And it wasn't like a soul, it was like a frequency that I was connected with. And as crazy as this sounds, it's what's guiding me now. And it's what's providing protection for me.
It's changed your life.
It's changed my life.
Wow. That's crazy, man. So this also ties into the whole age of Aquarius, the golden age, all this stuff that we're racing towards right now is the divine feminine. And Chris Bledsoe, that's what he's talking about when he says that the woman that's talking to him is the Holy Spirit, and yet she's also Hathor or Hathor, I don't know which way, Hathor, which is a Egyptian deity. Like, now we're talking about coexist. I mean, this is as new age as it gets, and yet you have a Christian who's promoting it.
Yeah. No, I was shocked today as we were putting together some of the resources, and it actually said the age of Aquarius is also known as the golden age. And so we've, at least if you have at all heard about the occult groups, all of them are looking for this age of Aquarius to come for a new beginning where a new world will take place, and so on. And so when he mentioned that, it was pretty incredible to connect those dots. But going back to this cow, this goddess that's a cow, Hathor, she is not only an Egyptian but also in Hindu mythology. And although we already covered most of what she is governing, she goes with she's the goddess of love, joy, and fertility, and also of all women, basically. And so she does. She brings the divine feminine everywhere she goes. And that can be said, truly, of all the different goddess female deities that we have, because they're kind of all patterned after each other. They just represent, I guess, more of that deity or divine energy. And that's really all I have on that.
Did you hear that Chris Bledsoe said that she was, or that he had this experience with a cow, the horned cow that jumped over him?
Yeah, Chris Bledsoe said that. Oh, did you ask me that? Or?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking you or whoever, yeah. So, I mean, she's literally proving that she is this Egyptian deity, but this cow thing, it goes into this whole Age of Aquarius stuff too. This It's a cosmic cow. It has, or celestial cow. It has all the stars in the body. It's exactly what he described, and that's so she's not even hiding who she is.
No, and she said too, this thing Hathor, if you want to call it that, this we kept going back and forth.
Sorry.
This Hathor thing said that Amun Ra, I always say almond. Amun Ra is the hidden one.
Almond Ra.
Amun Ra is the hidden one. And so what they were talking about, I actually asked Walter Veith this when he was here. I said, what does that mean? And he said something to the effect of, well, it's they're hidden right now, not Hathor, but this entity, and it's coming. And this is what's happening. And I think this egg thing, according to my research, and what I think you said too, is the precursor to that. And that's what we've seen in mythologies too.
Yep.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. I'm like getting excited because what you've pointed at is exactly what we're talking about. This this deity coming down in an egg that we're looking forward to, that they're looking forward to in the occult, that we know is kind of going to be the Antichrist. They are looking for any of these beings. They're looking for it to be maybe Nimrod. They've mentioned Ra in the research I saw today specifically because they say that he lives in a closed egg where he's been waiting for years to be uncovered and crack open the shell for humanity to then see him and him to live with them. And so you hit it on the head right there.
Yeah. And do you remember Chris Bledsoe when he's talking about this woman, Hathor? Do you remember when she would come? She comes a lot, but he's real specific about like every time this comes, she comes.
Really?
You remember?
No, I don't. What was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
So it's in this clip, and I'll have to like unplug the headphones and because I don't think you have volume, but let's play that real quick.
Okay.
And then in 2013, let's fast forward 6 years, the lady comes back. She comes on Easter again and has pretty much every year since Easter. It's always a special time when she comes.
So, could you hear it?
Yeah, I could hear it very well. Easter.
Awesome. Yeah. So he said it's always a special time. Like there's a very significant thing about Easter. And so the first thing I really saw about Chris Bledsoe, except for some of the little bit of stuff that I've seen with you on Strange Normal, I watched the whole interview of him on Sean Ryan. Is that the guy's name? Ryan Sean, something like that.
Yeah.
And it got 500,000 views in a day or something like that. So this is not, for anybody that's watching thinking like, oh, this is just some weirdo off in the corner somewhere. No, this guy is the most analyzed, like by the government. Yeah, the most studied person by the military, by the government, by the CIA and all that about this topic. He's had clearance to go in, the NASA and all this stuff. And actually they have asked him to like heal people, to do not heal, not kill, I said. To do remote viewing. Like he got some kind of prophecy about someone was going to attack the Pope, and he told the CIA, and they went in and stopped this young man that was going to kill the Pope, like literally got the guy. And that was years ago. So he's been a big deal for a while, but now all of a sudden again, why all of a sudden this year, last year, I never heard about this guy till maybe he was around, but a year ago, all this stuff's starting to come out. And he's talking about Easter and what a big deal it is to this being, Hathor. Well, when you look into what Easter is, I meant on that show with Sean Ryan, he says she comes all the time on Easter. And the guy asked him, he said, well, what do you think about that? And he goes, well, what's Easter? And he said, the resurrection of Jesus. He's like, that's right. So he's associating it with like, this is the Holy Spirit. And she comes every Easter because it's such a significant time in Christianity. But really, when you know the truth, Easter has nothing to do with Christianity.
Right.
It is, think about this. Ask yourself this question. If we were going to memorialize an event like Jesus resurrecting from the tomb, wouldn't we have a date? You know, on a birthday, your birthday is the same date every year. It's not the same day, it's the same date every year. Mine's November 3rd. If you celebrate Christmas, it's always December 25th. If you're an anniversary with your wife, it's always the same day. So if we're going to memorialize the day that Jesus rose from the tomb, wouldn't it be a certain date?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they say it's always on Sunday, for one? What does the day of the week matter? It doesn't. And look what it says. It says, and I was asking because I'm like, I thought Easter was like maybe like the first Sunday every April or something, but it's not. It fluctuates big time. And you want to read this?
Yeah, it says the date of Easter is determined by calculating the first Sunday after the full moon that occurs on or after the vernal equinox. Easter is a movable feast because in the occult they have movable or immovable, which means if it's movable, again, it goes just by the date.
Yes, that date.
And then if it's immovable, it's always just on Sunday of that date, always. And so it doesn't, let's go back to what it says down below. It says, so it doesn't happen on the same date from year to year. In the Gregorian calendar, it is always observed on a Sunday between March 22nd and April 25th. However, Easter can be observed between April 4th and May 8th in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Okay, so just the variability of that is astonishing. Like he said, if we really were supposed to be like, wow, this is the exact event I need to keep, why would it change so much?
Because it has nothing to do with an anniversary of Jesus resurrecting. It has to do with equinoxes and
solstices.
And the Bible talks about not keeping the times and all this stuff.
Do not be observers of times.
Right, and that's exactly what this is. It's a pagan tradition, and it's a pagan ritual. And a lot of Christians have bought into it. A lot of people have just done it because it's tradition. But what I think is crazy is that he's actually saying that this being shows up every year on Easter, even though it's this changing year, changing date. She shows up every time. Why? Because Easter originated from a female goddess, Ishtar.
Yes.
And we celebrate it more. We celebrate it with eggs. So
yes, that's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
This is wild. These connections are wild. What in the world?
Yes. Oh,
it's gonna get even more wild.
I'm so glad you're like catching on to, because we were just picking up the stuff. It's like, wait a minute, eggs, Easter, Ishtar, because he even says in an interview as a Christian, which is so crazy, who says that Hathor is the Holy Spirit. He's like, all cultures have a female god. Some it's the Virgin Mary, some it's Isis, some it's Ishtar and all this stuff. And he's saying that all those people that have all those goddesses, it's all the same one. It's just the Holy Spirit.
No.
And that's what the Pope says. It's like that he's saying different cultures are like different languages to God. They're just different ways to God. It doesn't matter if it's Buddha or Krishna or Hindu or whatever. It's just a different language to get to God. And that's the biggest deception of all time, this ecumenical one world religion coexist, and it sounds so beautiful and so loving, like we're all just going to get along, and it doesn't matter. The Pope has these celebrations where people from all over the country, all over the world, come to represent their religion, and they do a literal ritual. Like they had a witch doing a ritual. They had a Native American. They had, these Aborigines, like boom, like voodoo stuff. And it's all about, we all worship God. Yeah. We all worship love.
Yeah. Wow.
And so here's where it really ties into this egg thing, because Easter is really where did the eggs come from in the Easter thing? This is where it came from.
Did you want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. She further claimed, this is...
Semiramis.
You want to start with... Okay. So Queen Semiramis also proclaimed that Baal would be present on earth in the form of a flame, whether candle or lamp, when used in worship. Semiramis claimed that she was immaculately conceived. She taught that the moon was a goddess and went through a 28-day cycle and ovulated when full. She further claimed that she came down from the moon in a giant moon egg that fell into the Euphrates River. This was to have happened at the time of the first full moon after the spring equinox.
Boom.
Does that ring a bell to anyone? That's what we were just saying about Easter.
Yep. So who is it? It's Semiramis, which is a goddess, and this guy himself admitted all the goddesses are the same. But in these traditions, they always, when you look at like who is Hermes, he's also Mercury. It's like, are you looking at it from the Roman lens or the Greek lens? And so Semiramis, like you can look this stuff up. She over time became Ishtar and Hathor and all these other goddesses. They're all the same. And we know they're all ultimately Satan anyway. But this being, this goddess Hathor that Chris Bledsoe's conversing with is, coming in an egg and coming at the spring equinox, which has nothing to do with the resurrection of Christ.
Yeah. And the second part there that's highlighted says Semiramis became known as Ishtar.
Oh, there it is.
Which is pronounced Easter, apparently. And her moon egg became known as Ishtar's egg.
Boom.
Wait. The egg became a symbol of fertility and life for the ancient Assyrians and spread throughout the world. The ancient Druids bore an egg as a sacred emblem of their order. In Greece, the egg was celebrated as part of the nocturnal ceremony consisting, I assume that's typo, of the consecration of Bacchus, the same as it was in Assyria for Ninos or Tammuz. The Hindu fables and in China, we'll go on and on. It basically all over the world. It took on its flavor, just like Mikey said.
Can I add to that real quick? Because I have something.
Yeah.
In our Discord, and by the way, shameless plug, if you want to become a part of the Discord, you can access that through patreon.com/strangenormal. Become a part of that, and you too can be with us studying this 24/7 and just understanding it. If you want to just hang out and watch what we're learning about, or be a part of it, and I see a number of you already in the chat going, "Look, this ties to this and this and this." We need your help.
Awesome.
I mean, this is all new stuff to us. So, but I wanted to show this this thing right here. One of us in the chat, I blurred out his name. Actually was a former Druid. And he says that he said in Druidry, I took out his name because I wasn't sure. I didn't ask him ahead of time. In Druidry, we had what was called Druid eggs. There were many theories within the Druid communities as to what the original Druid egg was. Many Druids today have a modern tradition of something similar to Easter eggs. Many will have egg-shaped carvings of various gemstones. I followed this tradition because gemstones are thought to be very powerful, he says. Different gemstones are thought to have different purposes, and some for protection from evil, some for divination, some for prosperity, etc. According to the records written by Pliny, Pliny, there are gemstones, glass, or other natural minerals, but not in the shape of traditional eggs. And he gives an article that talks about, to back up what his claims were about these Druid eggs. And I'll flash that up on the screen just for a moment here, that you can see it if you want. But it kind of goes over that and talks about these different things from this idea that the Druids use these same things, Druid eggs. And what's interesting to me is they called it the snake egg.
Snake egg.
Isn't that fascinating?
I know. They are traditions and cultures. They are so open about like worshiping snakes or thinking that they're divine and all this stuff. And it's like, as Christians, we have the upper hand. Like we've read the Bible and we're like, I know who the snake is.
Right.
But all around the world, man, it's like people are just like, oh, snakes are sacred and divine and all this stuff. And it's like you're worshiping Satan.
So Aubrey, I hope I didn't steal your thunder there, but I was like, oh, connection. I have something on that. Druids. But
No, that
good.
added to it perfectly, so don't worry.
Yeah, we actually didn't get to add a lot of stuff that we've been seeing in these books and stuff, but there was, and I don't even think I got to add this part, but one of the Pope guys, John Paul or something, I don't know if you can pull it up, but he got presented this giant golden egg for Easter.
Really?
And it's this massive, and it's just like, isn't this so weird? Like somebody gifts you this giant 10-foot egg or whatever, and now you just have to have this thing because it's a gift. But I'm sure he embraces it and thinks it's amazing because they know what this stuff is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
Have you ever heard of an author named Andy Weir? It's like weird without a D.
No.
I didn't either, but I have it on here. I just think this is an interesting connection because you actually had showed Mork and Mindy and the Alien movie. During this research, I stumbled upon this guy who wrote the Martian movie. So we're talking about Martians, right? Aliens and all this stuff. He also wrote something called Project Hail Mary, which has nothing to do with Catholicism. It's like people love this thing, whatever it is. It's some book called Project Hail Mary, and it's like spacey looking. And then Artemis, which is the daughter of Zeus. And then this little short book that came out called The Egg. And I was like, what are the chances? Like I'm saying, I think these people are being inspired by the same spirits. If you are not praying daily for the Holy Spirit to guide you and to lead you and to inspire you, you are going to be inspired by another spirit. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this guy wrote novels and movies about Martians, Hail Mary, and the egg, and also another goddess, Artemis, the daughter of Zeus. It's just crazy the connections that are happening with all this stuff. But when I looked at what the egg was, he said he wrote it in 40 minutes, and it was 1,000 characters, and it was just something that he like posted on a blog or something, and his fans just went crazy over it. He said, I had no idea it was going to become like a short story. But people are asking if I had it printed. I said, no, but you can get it on my website here. And they're like, well, can I get it on Kindle or something? And so he said, so I put it on a Kindle and you have to list it for at least 99 cents. So he said, I told everybody you can get it for free on my website or you can get it on Kindle. But it eventually went into print. Like he had no idea that this was, and the book, the whole thing is about, when I looked it up, it's all about reincarnation. So basically, every being, depending on how they live, it's all about karma and stuff, but they will be reincarnated either in the future or even in the past, which was a unique twist. But it's all about, again, this cyclical death, the resurrection, the whole phoenix out of the ashes, the Ouroboros, the whole thing ties in with this egg thing.
So that's
because the egg really is about birth and renewal.
Yeah, birth and renewal. And I wonder why. And this is just speculation. I want to make sure that's absolutely clear. But I'm wondering if the first thing I thought when they grabbed this egg from wherever they found it or however they brought it in was, well, what's in it? Crack it open. Let's see it. But but I'm thinking to myself, just as these entities, there's some rules of the game where they have to be tied to something, it seems. Like the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God said you can access the humans, but you have to be tied to this thing. Well, they've summoned this thing, this physical object, and now it's supposed to birth or show some god of some kind. I wonder if this is how it happened in the past, and now that they have this object, they're having all kinds of spiritual warfare, or this being appear to them now that's going to continue and push this idea along. I have this one thing I took from Wikipedia, I think it was. It says eggs in ancient world, and stop me if I'm stealing your thunder about anything.
Go for it.
Okay.
One of the earliest examples of the egg as mythological symbol can be found if we travel back to the ancient Greece, or Orphism. It was a popular
it's called
religion.
an Orphan egg.
Orphan egg. Okay. Yeah, Orphimism is
Orphic.
Porphic. placed a special significance on the egg, often depicting with a snake coiled around it. The Orphic egg was believed to have hatched, and the primordial, just like you're saying, deity, and this deity seems to change with the culture, who in turn created all the other gods. So this is one of the major deities. Now this is interesting. It says in Egypt it's something similar. Similarly, the ancient Egyptians believed that Ra, the sun god, was hatched from a cosmic egg. Egyptians also commonly thought of the sun itself as an egg, one that had not only been laid by Seb, a goose, isn't that interesting, the golden egg, residing in heaven, but that had also hatched the phoenix. So
that's perfect.
It's the exact same thing. And so that's just amazing to me.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you actually pointed out, because that was one of the clips I was going to try to grab, but we didn't have time. And that just gives more credence to how it was used in the past in culture and mythology.
Yeah, it said that Hathor shapeshifted into a golden goose and laid the golden egg. And then that phoenix thing you're talking about is the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's all tied in. All this Gnostic death and rebirth cycle, reincarnation, all this stuff is tied into it. Something I was starting to say earlier, and I didn't get a chance to finish it, was the phoenix rising from the ashes, how serious the elitists and the occultists of this world take that. They believe completely out of order, out of chaos. And we know prophetically, and just, I mean, you look at the back of a dollar bill, it says New World Order right there, all-seeing eye, everything. And the presidents have said it. Bush said a New World Order, we're not the law of the jungle and all this stuff. They are telling you we want a New World Order. And Trump already, in the first week he's in office, he's unrolling out Stargate. We want AI to surveillance everything, and people will behave when you are being surveillanced by AI. This is the social credit system that China is under, where you get caught littering or whatever, you're publicly shamed. You can't, your credit score goes down and you can't take public transportation. You can't buy or sell. These are the steps towards the one world religion, the one world government, and the mark of the beast. So this isn't conspiracy theory. This is prophecy. And with this phoenix from the ashes thing, the occult numbers 9 and 11 are, I did a whole thing on this on our channel. I can't remember exactly what it was, but together it means, one means destruction and the other means rebirth, and 9/11. And it says that you have to tear down physically or metaphysically or something, metaphorically, you have to destroy 2 pillars. This is literally what the occult believes. You have to destroy 2 pillars and build one that's stronger than the other. And that's the beginning of this new order. Out with the old order, in with the new order. And I just think it's crazy that we had physically 2 pillars come down, and now we have a, what is it called? One World Tower.
Yeah.
They erected the one world order, one world tower. And that was just, we know that we live in a post 9/11 world. We always talk about that, right? Post 9/11. Like that was the beginning of a lot of changes in our freedom. You know, we had the quote unquote Patriot Act. It sounds so good, but it's all about, you know, now you get frisked at the TSA and all this stuff. And the NDAA Act that Obama signed, where everything, there's no privacy. Everything, your phone, everything's tapped. And we're saying, oh, just keep us safe. I don't care if I'm tapped or whatever. But that's where it all started. The phoenix rising from the ashes. And now here we are. Trump has some interesting things to say. We'll get to that. But he's not the guy that a lot of Christians want to believe he is. They think he's going to save the day, and he's the Messiah, and he is going to stop the New World Order and all these things. But he's a part of it. He's a pawn in the game. You don't get to be at that level being a part of it. How does this tie in?
Oh, we need to go there now.
Okay. I forgot how it ties in.
So this is actually what they call, you had the image of the egg with the snake wrapped around it. This is what is in that egg usually. That is what is called the cosmic egg or the philosopher's egg, the Orphic egg, or the mundane egg in the occult world. There's too many names for it.
Huh.
And it just represents the origin of the universe and the unity of all existence. In alchemy, which they have all the alchemical symbols right there, you probably just don't realize it.
For anyone that doesn't know, alchemy is a combination of sorcery and spiritualism. Sorcery, it's a magic.
Yes, and that's actually a really good point to jump into this, because I was reading this and alchemists.
Oh, I meant sorcery and science. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alchemists, why do they do this? They said they're always trying to get back to the state of mankind where they say they were uncreated. They were God themselves. Because I think that they were at a point of idealistic perfection beforehand, and all of a sudden something happened, although they don't believe it's the fall of mankind and sin and such, but something happened in their mythology that they believe that caused us to be separated from having that God within that was acknowledged, accepted, and be able to be used by humankind. So just there's that. And then in alchemy, this symbol of the cosmic egg embodies the idea of primordial source from which all creation emerges. It is often depicted through the rebus. That's what it says on their chest right there. This man who's actually a man and a woman in one body. And that's the idea, actually. It's you can see the sign for a woman and a sign for the man in those stars. And that's on the left, on the very bottom. And they have on the right, I actually don't know what those symbols are.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've seen those. We looked those up one time, and I can't remember what they are now. But the symbol above is the symbol Mercury. It's the combination of male and female together.
That's right. So let's not burst that bubble yet.
Okay.
Because you have the sun and the moon, so that's supposed to be what they call Sol and Luna. And then it comes together in this being that all of a sudden is supposed to have this perfection again, this godliness, which is male and female together. They call it the androgynous being.
Which we know Satan is represented by an androgynous goat, the Baphomet. And here you see in one hand is the compass, and the other hand is the square, which this is where Freemasonry gets their logo from.
The female always has the square, and the male have the compass. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And so, unfortunately, we're kind of exposing what they believe as well here, but it must be done. So,
what about this next slide?
Let's continue. I have a little bit more to explain on that.
Okay, you want to
real quick? Yeah. So it says here, an androgynous figure. Rebus is an androgynous figure symbolizing the harmonious union of opposites, male and female, spiritual and material. All things that are opposites will come together and become one in unified divine entity. The rebus stands within an oval representing the cosmic egg and holds symbols like the compass and square denoting the synthesis of all realms. So we could probably have come to that, but think order out of chaos as I'm reading this. In the context of, and here's where I apologize, but we are getting into androgynous and somewhat of the more occult meanings of this, which are gruesome. So it has to do with sex magic, unfortunately. So in sex magic within the occult practices, the cosmic egg and the rebus symbolize the transformative power of uniting dualities. Sexual rituals are viewed as a means to achieve spiritual enlightenment, and and personal transformation by harnessing sexual energy to transcend ordinary reality. This process is believed to lead to a state of wholeness, often referred to as the creation of the divine hermaphrodite, representing the complete integration of all aspects of self. Okay, any comments before we go on?
No, that's interesting.
What's interesting is on Candid Truth, she did a video on the dark origins of androgyny, which ties, if you don't know what androgyny means, it means you don't know what gender you are, or what we have today is gender fluid and all these things that are trendy now.
You refuse to be having a gender when you're androgynous.
What I didn't know, I knew it was all satanic. I know that Satan hates humanity. He wants to do anything to depopulate humanity. If he can make you homosexual or cut off your genitals or whatever, you cannot populate. And he just wants to do anything to mar what God has created.
The family cell. What they call it? The nuclear
family. Yeah, but what she dug up shows that this is not new. This has been, the eunuchs in the Bible, the monks that don't, their chastity, and the nuns and all that stuff. All of this stuff has to do with reaching spiritual enlightenment. And when you get rid of your biological gender, that's like the highest state you can reach of spirituality.
Yeah, so I'll just add there that it was like the priests of Cybele and Apollo and Venus, all the priests or priestesses, well, I shouldn't say priestesses because they did other things, but all the priests would at least castrate themselves and start dressing in dresses and so on. So they would become androgynous. And I did not know, just to tag that, because we're going to get into it with Aleister Crowley. He did the same thing. He kind of wanted to go into those ancient mysteries and rituals. And he did.
Babylon.
To recreate some of the rituals from Babylon and connect with the spiritual realm. And so he actually performed these rituals a lot too. And he found out that the quickest way to have clairvoyance and divination from the demons and have them converse with you is actually to perform these sexual rites. And so that's where we find actually throughout history that these priests of Cybele had divination abilities, clairvoyance, telepathically and so on with I shouldn't say aliens, but in a way they are.
The aliens.
But then it's with the demons, really.
The demons. Wait, so I'm going to take this in a weird direction. You ready for this strange question? What's wrong with sex?
Yes.
Nothing. If you do it the way God made it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's the first commandment God said. Be fruitful, multiply.
I guess maybe they were doing it to break God's commandments, right? I mean, that's what I'm supposing.
Oh, she didn't get in detail about it. So basically, there used to be all these rituals you had to do. You know, people meditate for like hours and stuff. And the more they do it, they say, now I just, in 20 minutes, I'm talking to ascended masters.
Right.
Well, in the occult world, they're drawing pentagrams and doing all these, runes and all this stuff. But what Aleister Crowley found out was that if he did some kind of perverted sexual act, meaning outside of God's design, whether that was with children or man on man or whatever, it had to be the more disgusting, the quicker it happens.
The demons apparently.
Whoa! Here's a connection.
Manifested
Go ahead.
And spoke to him much quicker.
Do you know?
I want to hear what you got, Brad.
That Jake Barber just said, and I didn't pull this together until just now when you said children. He said that they, in order to attract these things, they're using children as the psionics, and he says we traumatize the children. He says the children have been traumatized.
What?
That's what he said. And I gotta find the clip, but I'm like, wait a second here.
Goodness, dude.
So they're attracting these demonic entities like this egg thing, and they're saying the children are better at psionics than the adults when they're traumatized. What kind of trauma are they giving? What did
Jesus say? Jesus said, "Whoever hurts one of these little ones should have a noose tied around his neck and thrown into, or a millstone tied around his neck and thrown into the ocean." Jesus loves the little children. He said, let the children
Oh
come
my
to me. We
goodness.
must become like little children. So the easiest way to summon these aliens, which are demons, is to traumatize children. I believe that. I mean, you think about the movie Monsters Inc. and stuff. That was the same thing, right? Terrify the children and you fuel the monsters. You right? If I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, to be honest, all I can think of is satanic ritual abuse testimonies of how many children have been traumatized to put them into a state of being in connection with the occult powers as well, but they have to hit a state of basically being numb all of a sudden. And so how much do you have to hurt a child or a person to actually get them to that point of trauma, like a cutoff point? And so that really disturbs me to hear that.
Yeah. So I want to make sure we haven't lost people. How does this tie in with the egg and what's going on here?
Thank you.
We know that, as time progresses, Satan's plan is rolling out, and we see this whole transhuman movement coming. That with AI and all this stuff, it's coming to the singularity movement is what they want to do. The singularity.
All right, so that's all you can really say right now.
Okay.
We need to go into it a little deeper.
Are you going to read this slide here?
Yes. So
Oh, wait.
a little more
pull it up.
on this rebus. Here we are at the very top. Let's just start with the center focus of the flash. I'm not sure what flash is, but the rebus is the alchemal androgyny, a figure of sublime union, balancing the very nature of existence in one perfectly unified form. It always shows a rebus standing upon a dragon breathing flame. That's that second paragraph there. The dragon in this context is one of the tria prima, sulfur, the potential of the spirit shown through transformative flame. So I want to jump down to the last paragraph there where it says, together the circle, the square, and the triangle are the greatest of all shapes to the alchemist. Listen to this. The square is the corpse, the triangle the spirit, and the circle is the realm of the divine. So that might not mean a whole lot to people yet, but it's definitely trying to create within you this ability to, I guess, to live again, to rebirth yourself.
Yeah. Basically, this is all the phoenix out of the ashes stuff. This is bringing yourself to divine godhood. This is Christ consciousness. This is what the New Age has been predicting for years. Mm-hmm. All these New Age books and everything, they're always talking about when the age of Aquarius comes, that's the age of enlightenment. What is... I don't know what words are flagged anymore and all that stuff, but the secret group, the illuminated ones, if you want to say it that way. But these people, they were all about wanting knowledge, right? Enlightenment. That's why they're called the illuminated ones. Where did that originate from?
Secret knowledge of the tree of life.
Dude, the Illuminati went all the way back to the serpent in the garden. He said, eat this fruit and your eyes will be open.
100%. Yeah, I meant the tree of knowledge of good and evil, not the tree of life. But you picked up what I was saying.
Yeah, so Satan, again, offered humanity secret knowledge. Do you want to have your eyes open, that all-seeing eye? Do you want that eye open? Eat this forbidden fruit, and you'll look like Brad right there with your eyes open. But this goes all the way back. It's mind-blowing when you think about that the first Illuminati started back at the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And they took that, and now what do you see in all the movies? You always see an apple. Even the computer I'm using has an apple with a bite taken out of it. Like, they glamorize what happened in the Garden of Eden, that enlightenment that they got from following what Satan said, Satan's offer.
Yes.
I know that when I looked in this book, this Morals and Dogma, I was seeing all this stuff, and it talks about the serpent or the dragon, because what is this? The serpent standing on its tail, and the deity, and that deity, the god of healing, like, that is a word I don't know how to say.
Calpius.
To whom the serpent was consecrated, leans on a knotted stick around which coils a snake. This is not what I was trying to find. We kept seeing these connections about the age of Aquarius, the golden age, and the serpent and Saturn. And we're going to get to that.
Yeah. We ought to uncover a lot of that as well. And I just want to read a little bit more that I have here on my phone real quick about some of this, because it ties into what he's saying a little better. It says the culmination of these practices and symbols points towards a form of monism, a philosophical viewpoint that all things are derived from a single substance or reality. In this context, spiritual, physical, and sexual energies are seen as interconnected facets of the same universal essence. In the esoteric practices, they aim to achieve a unified state of being, reflecting the original wholeness symbolized by the cosmic egg. In the Kabbalah, they have their egg. In Alice Bailey's writing, she also has a solar angel who talks about accomplishing the higher self or soul that guides individual evolution. So this is really what you're doing. And I looked even further, because it's not going to be in our slides. I'm just going to mention it here. But they talk about each soul trying to accomplish the cracking of their egg, their cosmic egg around them. And they had steps in which to do this. Meditate. Write out your plans. You know what I mean? Like a vision board.
Oh, yeah. Law of attraction stuff. Secret.
Relax. Do good to others. It was only a few things, but really, it was like enjoy pleasure all the time as much as you can, and so on, which kind of relates to the sex magic that Aleister Crowley had. But it's all there. It lines up. And you have something to read?
Yeah, I found what I wanted to find in this guy's book. So the connection here, that picture that we saw, this picture right here, this picture is alchemy. When you look up what is alchemy, you're going to find this picture. And so it says, the golden age is the ideal lost estate to be regained by the alchemist. To literally achieve physical immortality is to complete the great work, sorry, I had to get onto my cat, is to complete the great work of creation. God completed his work of creation. It says, okay, let me reread that. To literally achieve physical immortality is to complete the great work of creation and become one with the Father himself. This is the godhood to be achieved by the fallen angels. It is the esoteric meaning behind the end of time. When material bodies no longer die, they will be returned to divinity. Time will no longer have relevance as immortality becomes the norm. It is through the mystic science of alchemy that this high ideal is to be achieved. This is how man has come to believe that he may actually become God by perfecting his own nature. And then it just keeps going on with the whole alchemy stuff. This alchemy is science and sorcery, trying to become God, trying to obtain immortality, and ultimately merging into a singularity movement where we are all divine beings. That's what the age of Aquarius is. That's what the golden age is that we are approaching right now.
Yes, which sounds confusing, because if you haven't heard those words or you don't really know what that means a whole lot, it means that there's going to be this acceptance basically of all religions. And in doing so, I didn't get to add this either. Aleister Crowley talks about it, especially in the Kabbalah, because it's mentioned in the Kabbalah, like I said, with Aleister Crowley, Alice Bailey, Lena Blavatsky, they all write about it, but you have it in all cases that this is like a respect for all religions, because they say they all lead to one, but a zeroing out of all religions also. So it's
because
actually,
you are God.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. That's what the serpent said in the garden.
Yeah.
It's all about becoming God but that's what it said. It said that we are all one with the Father.
All divine.
And so these occultists, they love to tie scripture into stuff. You read any New Age book, it's going to be full of scripture, but they're going to use stuff way out of context. Like, I want them to all be one with the Father the way you and I are one with the Father or whatever.
Right.
They're going to twist scripture to make it sound like we're supposed to be God.
Mm-hmm. And they actually have a term for this, at least Aleister Crowley does. It's called the Kabbalistic Zero. And he was specifically very excited about it because it does mean the New World Order, a new age is birthed, where perfection is had. And so if we're looking at today, let's just look at it for now. We have chaos everywhere and everything's being reported in the news and we all kind of go, what do we believe now? But that's their way of order out of chaos. They're actually creating that. Meanwhile, they're giving all religions, and they have for a while, but they're definitely advocating for it now more than ever, for all religions to be respected and tolerated next to one another. And that's where we get into this other part, which I'm going to read.
This one?
No, we could go there. I guess we should real quick because it's unfortunate that they believe that the Holy Spirit is...
Wow, that's really small on the screen.
That's
Sorry.
really too small. I can't read that. Let's just say that... yours is a little better. Yeah, it all starts what they say, and if you know the chakras, it starts with the sexual organs and goes to the heart to open up the crown of the head. So they say the Philosopher's Stone, which was that unfortunate sexual act of Aleister Crowley's that they all write about being so important for communicating with the demon world, it starts with the semen. And so this was just to show that this is called that and the connection is there. It's also called the Cup of Hermes and so on. But it starts with sulfur, mercury, and salt and semen. And then they say that everything else was birthed right there in that cosmic egg. So on to the next thing.
Oh, yeah. So let me unplug so you can hear this one. So this is Trump. I think he's in France. It says at the bottom, France24.com. And listen to the terminology he says at this speech.
We have before us a rare opportunity to bring security and stability and peace to this region and to its people.
Did you notice any interesting phrase he said there?
Security and stability?
Well, he said peace.
Oh, peace.
Security and peace. Yes. So for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Now, it's interesting that so many Christians today look at Trump as like, he's the guy. He's going to be like, he's going to fix the world. But he's actually... Now, we understand prophecy different than the majority of the world. We don't believe there's like a one-man antichrist coming who just hates Christians. He's killing them in the streets and all this stuff. We know that there's going to be a one-world religion. It's going to look like love and unity and peace and all these things. It's going to look like... And a lot of Christians are going to fall for it because they're going to say, look, this is all about love. Like, even New Agers believe in Jesus and Mormons and all these things. It's going to be like this coexist movement. But what's interesting is if anybody is looking for a one-man antichrist, like in these movies, Trump is actually fulfilling every aspect of that.
Yeah.
He's sitting here saying, I'm going to bring peace and safety. He had, he was wounded in the head, if you will. He survived an attack, an attempted attack. He is on the coin of Israel. Don't you think that's a little strange? Why is the American president, who hasn't even been president for years now, on the coin of Israel. He's going to make a treaty with Israel. He's doing all these things that the Bible, well, that the majority of Christians believe are pointers to the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so because
you're not saying he is the Antichrist, he is maybe one of, but maybe he's pointing to.
Well, what's crazy is I don't believe any of that. I think Satan has got this whole thing, man. It's a puppet show. He plays both sides. The Hegelian dialect. It's a sleight of hand. It's misdirection. Because what I think is everybody's going to at first think Trump's awesome. Like, man, things are changing. Things are great, actually. Things are going better. Gas is better. He's getting rid of all the woke stuff and all this stuff. But then they're going to start recognizing, wait a minute, he's hand in hand with Elon, who wants to microchip our brains. He is saying peace and safety. He's rolling out AI surveillance in the first week he's in office. You know, they're going to start putting the pieces together. Wait a minute, he's making a treaty with Israel. Wait a minute, he's the Antichrist. No wonder it looks so good. And that's when Satan comes on the scene, a supernatural being that we've never experienced before, comes out and really saves the day. He's preparing. This is just a theory, but
okay, I see what you're saying. So like Satan comes on the scene as the actual Antichrist. It's going to impersonate Christ and says, yeah, he has to. I mean, Antichrist has to fight an Antichrist Trump in order for it to be Christ, because that's Revelation. I see what you're saying.
Yes. It's such a psychological warfare.
I want everyone to understand this is theory. This is theory. We're just playing with ideas right now. This isn't. We're digging through this stuff. We're not picking this out of Spirit of Prophecy or the Bible, but it's interesting to see what's going on right now.
But if if Christians know, okay, there has to be a false Christ before there's the true Christ, and they're looking for him, there always are. I remember Obama, they were like, his name means lightning from heaven, and all this stuff. We're always looking for the Antichrist, and he's fulfilling like all the markers. What if all of a sudden this cosmic Christ, this supernatural being comes, really destroys the quote unquote Antichrist Trump and sets up this perfect utopia that we know is not going to happen? As Adventists, we know prophetically there's not going to be 1,000 years of peace on earth. But the rest of the Christian world is waiting for that, longing for that. And Satan's going to do that. A false peace.
Interesting.
So this next slide was interesting because I just have it on screen where he's saying, this is BBC. It says, with the promise of a golden age, a second Trump era begins. Look at the bottom, it's closed caption. It says, he's saying, the golden age of America begins right now. The golden age. That is literally playbook right out of Helen Blavatsky and Alice Bailey and all these people. They said the golden age is the age of Aquarius. That's what the New Age world and everyone is waiting for, the age of Aquarius. That's the cosmic shift or whatever, where we are all going to be enlightened. We're all going to become divine. All this stuff is happening right now. 2025.
That's right.
Alice Bailey said the externalization of the hierarchy, that demons are going to manifest in this world. And we're seeing things all over the sky that the military says, we don't know what they are, but don't worry about them. And now he's saying all these things, peace and safety, a golden age. We're entering a golden age.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I need to add to that.
Okay.
Because when have we ever, as a civilization, at least if you weren't in the occult world, you probably have never even heard of the golden age, right? And I haven't, sure enough. This is the year that we've all heard it over and over and over again. And we know that nothing happens just willy-nilly on the news or whatever. They're mentioning it over and over. They're getting it out there in people's ears.
He's reading a script.
Right. They're getting it in a bug in people's ears, and they're kind of like, wait a minute, like, this is the golden age. It's the beginning of great new beginnings. So we would all get curious and figure out, like, what does this mean? And so we looked at it, we're telling you guys, and this is what we're finding out it all means. But there's more symbolism. Mikey's going to point that out now with the next slide, I think.
Yeah, what's happening is chaos. We went to chaos.
Before you get into that, you mentioned the millennium, the golden age, right? White actually talks about that, and I'm just going to read the quote because I don't have it in my slides, but it says they declared that they had the truth, that the miracles were among them, and that angels of heaven had talked to them and walked with them. This is the worldly beings.
Goodness.
They said that the great power and signs and wonders were performed among them, and that this was the temporal millennium. Temporal is spelled Temporal, meaning the not the temporary, but the worldly millennium. Earthly, yeah.
Oh.
They had been expecting for so long. In other words, they said that this was the earthly millennium that they had been expecting for so long. The whole world was converted in harmony with the Sunday law, and this little feeble people stood out in defiance of the laws of the land and the laws of God and claimed to be the only ones right on earth. So that temporal millennium will be a big deal in the very end. This 1,000 years on earth, or this golden age that is coming. So yeah, very good.
Well, and I'm just gonna, I don't know why this is coming up in my brain right now, but I know that during our research for this show with you, not only does that rebus picture with the man and the woman androgyny in the egg show the moon and the planets and all these things that are occult symbols becoming one, the opposites being unified. But when you actually break that down, and I feel like the Holy Spirit did for me, you have the symbol of the sun, which has been Catholicism in our world and other idol worship. And then you have the moon, which has been so much of what the Islamic kind of power has believed. And when you put them together, you kind of have what I was learning is Kabbalism puts it all together. But when you have them clasp hands across that gulf, that time is here. You know what I mean? And so they all become one. That's kind of what I'm seeing fully. That monism is accomplished.
Huh.
Yeah. So here's a slide from the Theosophical Society. That's Helena Blavatsky, right?
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
And so it's literally saying the golden age, Aquarius, and the ringed planet. So this isn't just me saying, hey, this golden age, I think it's the age of Aquarius. Like, this has literally been in books for a long time. And even this article was printed in 2005. And I'll just go to the bottom part here where it says, in the 21st century, Saturn's influence and lessons help us recover at least parts of the golden consciousness that leads to a golden society. In our present cycle, it means the awakening of the sixth intuitive sub-principle within the fifth mental principle, or simply the rebirth of a spiritual intelligence, a higher level of consciousness for which the next civilization must emanate. This was written in 2005. Now, it's been Alice Bailey predicted it would be 2025, and Chris Bledsoe is saying that this woman, Hathor, is telling him that Easter, ironically, Easter of 2026 is going to be something huge, and he admitted for the first time ever recently that he thinks it's going to be the second coming of Christ, who's setting up 1,000-year millennial peace on earth. It continues, it says, it is a natural process now to rediscover the bright side of Saturn. It is an appropriate time to remember that the ringed planet was for many centuries the astrological regent of Aquarius before Uranus was discovered in 1781. Being co-regent of the Aquarian age, Saturn will have an ever-inspiring role during this new cycle, a time when the law of brotherhood taught by the Mahatmas can be better understood and respected. Okay. Now, the whole reason I'm bringing this stuff up is because Trump literally said, we're entering the golden age. He's saying peace and safety. He's saying all these coined phrases that have been predicted by the occult. And what do we have here? This is Trump's wife. This is what she wore at his inauguration. And this is not a reach. That hat is so unflattering. I don't know who she, Carmen Sandiego, but it's this is really the rings of Saturn. I'm not just making a reach here. This is called Saturno, and it's a Capello Romano or Saturno because its appearance is reminiscent of the ringed planet Saturn. It's a clerical hat with a wide circular brim and a rounded crown worn outdoors in some countries by Catholic clergy when dressed in a cassock. And it's saying that this has no ceremonial purpose or anything. They're saying he's not wearing this for some ceremony. He's wearing this because it's his dedication to Saturn or whatever. And I just don't think it's a coincidence that she's wearing this when he's talking about the golden age, and that Saturn plays a huge role in that.
Yeah.
Here it says, in esoteric traditions, Saturn is intricately connected to the concept of the golden age, a mythical era characterized by peace, prosperity, and harmony. This association manifests in several key aspects. Saturn as a ruler of the golden age. Roman mythology, Saturn, known as the god of agriculture, wealth, and time, was believed to have presided over a primordial golden age. During his reign, humanity experienced abundance and lived in accordance with natural laws, eliminating a need for external governance. In Greek mythology, it says the Greeks identified Saturn with Kronos, the Titan who ruled during the Golden Age. This period was marked by a utopian existence, free from toil and sufferings. And that's what's literally coming with AI taking jobs and everything. They're talking about making basically an allowance for people because so many jobs are going to be taken and stuff that they're going to have to resort to that. And here's part 2 of this. It says liberation and transformation. That's what we're talking about with this whole rebus thing, this whole alchemy and all that transformation. This is opening the third eye, reaching the higher level existence, all this stuff that they believe is going to happen in the age of Aquarius. And they, whether you believe it or not, they believe it. They are doing everything they're supposed to do with their rituals and all that stuff. And it says, in Neoplatonic thought, Saturn is seen as a liberating force. Philosopher Porphyry suggests that Saturn has the ability to free the psyche from astral fate, guiding souls toward immortality. This is what we're talking about, singularity movement and the transhuman movement. This liberation is symbolically linked to the transition from the material realm to a higher spiritual existence, cycles of time and renewal. Saturn's association with time and cycles positions in as a gatekeeper between epochs. Its influence is believed to herald the end of one age and the commencement of another, reflecting the cyclical nature of existence and the perpetual return to a state of primordial harmony. So this is all about out with the old order, in with the new order. Everything's lining up, man.
Speaking of that, I want to bounce off that real quick. That's really interesting about the Saturn stuff. I had not heard of that. Everyone knows I'm not really a symbol guy. People have been saying, Brad, you put your fingers together in Starfall. It must mean you're part of the Illuminati. Give me a break. But and so it's hard for me to grasp the symbology and stuff. I'll admit, but it is very interesting that connection. So I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt. I'm gonna look into it a little further. That's interesting. Speaking of what you said though, but the hierarchy and everything collapsing and being recreated. This is a slide from presentation 7 about what I did this week. This is from the externalization of the hierarchy. It says
Oh.
In 2025, the old structures of society will begin to collapse, ushering in a period of occult transformation. That's from 1957.
Wow.
So you
Wow,
wonder
bro.
what's going on right now. That's what's happening right now. And you're seeing that.
Yep, the moral collapse. So it is. It's the phoenix rising out of ashes, and people are going to think it's great. Like, in comparison to where we've been, everybody knows, even the leftists, the extreme leftist people are sick of it. Like, they're ready. Like, they've already mutilated their bodies and everything. They're waking up that this is not, their choices are not good, and they're done with it. And so everybody now is at a place, with quote unquote natural disasters and just all this crazy gender stuff and everything that's going on. People are like, I'm ready for change. And so it's going to look good. It's going to be good for a while. Better prices. I mean, dude, every time we go to the grocery store, you get 5 bags of groceries. It's $100.
Yeah.
So prices of gas, groceries, everything's going to get good for a while. All the woke garbage is going to be gone. And we're going to be like, oh, this is great. And maybe we'll even start going to a universal church or something, I don't know what the plan is with that kind of stuff, but I do know that ultimately there will be a one world religion, and we're all going to think it's great. We're all going to go to church together, different religions and everything.
First, we have to have the basic universal income that they give us, and housing, and the smart cities, and all this stuff that's handed to you where you feel like life is really great.
Right.
For some of us, I think, but it's taken care of for you, and
you'll own nothing and be happy.
Right.
I know it.
Yeah. So
that's all we got, but
all right.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
That's crazy. You guys, so what's funny was, and this is a little inside what probably we talk about afterwards, but I had just mentioned this to them, saying, hey, can you look up some stuff about the egg? Thinking full well that all my guests usually don't. So I'm like trying to find something to understand this thing better, and I found a lot. But you guys pulled up, oh my goodness, you hit a home run on this one. This is amazing, all this stuff, and really did your homework.
It was definitely spirit led, man, because we both had a different book. I walked into this room with a bookshelf, and I was like, I wonder if there's anything in those weird books. I've had them, and I hate even having them, but I've had them because I know that at some point I'm going to expose this stuff to show how deceptive the New Age is, how they use scripture and everything. And I just thought, maybe there's something in here. And I took it back to the room, and I opened a book and she opened a book, and it's like, look at that egg. And I'm like, look at this egg. And it's like, look, serpent. Oh, look, golden age. Look. And it's just like, oh my goodness, This is crazy. And yeah.
And I just don't like to leave any topic
with loose ends.
With loose ends. So I did the full study on it. Like, we just went to town, and that was last minute. It was all yesterday.
Yeah.
But hey, I think we really got to the bottom of it personally. I think I'm really grateful because I didn't know this. We all think, quite honestly, that it's, I don't know, golden age is far off, that there isn't much information we as Christians can have on this, but they're giving us clues. They're dropping all the hints, all the symbolism, every outward sign of what is to come, if you really know what they're predicting and prophesying. And these are their prophecies, by the way.
Wow.
So I just happen to have this book too, and I get these books for free at the McKay's. There's a store here called McKay's Used Books and CDs, and books that they think don't sell, they just throw out there. You can tell this woman's like super new age, but
I can't see her.
Yeah, here she is. But
okay.
On here it shows a UFO, and it's talking about revelations of things that come. Dude, this stuff's full of scripture, man. Like, this is how the New Age do it. This is how Satan deceives, is by using a lot of truth, a little bit of error. But in here, it says right here, the meek shall inherit the earth and will not move with earth into the dawn of the golden age. Like, how do I just happen to have this book talking about the golden age? And it's all about age of Aquarius. It's what they've been talking about, the Aquarian age. But it says the Third World War. She wrote this in 1952, but the page before it says the spacemen come as deliverers. She's predicting this stuff. As a New Ager. She's a channeling. She's a writer that channels. And she's saying the spacemen as deliverers, something about universal laws,
Right.
the golden age of Aquarius and all this stuff.
I'll tell you though, just in case anyone is truly wondering, we have to always pray a lot before we dive into these things, and we have lots of worship sessions throughout the day, because we know that these things, we're looking at them, we're using them as resources. We think people ought to know, but you do have to guard your heart and your mind to not be wooed or deceived on one side or another, because we can just fall in love with an idea. It sounds so good. Maybe I'll give into it a little bit, but we have to really be careful. So we definitely are in our lives. And I don't suggest that other people have these books, really. So
if you haven't seen the documentary called Beware of Angels, you need to check that out. I mean, that was such a good documentary, but it's based on real event of a group of Christians who were having Bible studies, and they wanted more knowledge. They were like, they were praying to God. You used to send angels to people in the Bible days. We want to see an angel. And boom, they see an angel who began coming to every one of their Bible studies and calling himself the Naked Truth. And they had hundreds of pages written from this angel that visited them for years, or at least over a year for sure, till he won their trust, giving them, things that seemed good and normal. And then it was like, you know what? Some people are so fully possessed that they're not even human anymore. And God is choosing you to kill those people because they're not human. God is asking you to exterminate a demon on earth. And if you refuse to do it, then you're rejecting God's command, and you will be fully possessed.
That's what the evil angels told them.
Yeah, and so these two girls and others, they began to do everything this angel told them to do, and there were supernatural things that really protected them. Like the angel said, go in that store and fill up your buggy with groceries and walk out the door with it. And they said, it's God's money anyway, and this is a corrupt company, like making up all these excuses why it's okay to steal. And they would walk out the door and wouldn't get caught. And they would check the security cameras, and there was something blocking the camera. An angel was blocking the camera, a fallen angel. And so they actually, because they did those things and saw those supernatural things, they thought, we have to do what he says because God is choosing us. And if we reject God's calling, we're going to be damned for it. So they killed a youth pastor and his son, like his whole family, because this angel convinced them that this guy is like a plant in the church. He's a demonic plant in the church. I mean, think about how deceptive that is. That sounds real. Like you could almost fall for that. Like God wants you to get rid of this being that's going to destroy the church.
At the end of time,
that's the danger.
But at the end of time, that's what Revelation says. There will be two sides to this thing, and they both believe they're doing God's will. I mean, that's what the Antichrist is all about. So it's going to be good, well, what we think would be well-intentioned, I guess I should say, people that think they're doing the will of God when actually they're doing the will of Satan. And so that's going to be the final deception, is that. I mean, if you think you're saved by going to church, you're not. You need to have a personal relationship with Christ, with Jesus, and have a talk with him, and absolutely not be dependent on what you feel. No intuition. Yes. No. I think that I'm being pushed because I feel this way, or I have this thing that's telling me I need to go. That scares me to death when I hear Christians say that, because that's manipulative, and Satan knows how to manipulate those feelings. So I'm off on a tangent here, but that's
good stuff, because that's what we're seeing a lot of right now with this whole alien thing, is just people saying it can't be bad because it feels so good. And that's just, you cannot depend on your emotions for truth.
I have a few more clips. I have 3 more clips I wanted to show, but not sure.
Awesome.
We're already 11 o'clock, 2 hours. Are you guys
Hey,
okay
we're
with
just
that?
at 2 hours. Yeah, man. Have you seen our shows?
Well, we got
we got one that's 4 hours long.
That's great. I mean, I've been actually told that 3 hours is about the sweet spot for YouTube, and I need to be doing longer ones. But this is number 6. We're talking about how psionics invites these things down, which I thought was just really weird. I'm gonna play that one. Everything's out of order now, so we're just gonna play
there was
what's
another
up there.
team involved. Come to find out, was the psionics team, and they were also working that night.
And do you think it was them that had attracted the object in the first place?
Yeah, I do.
Try to turn it up.
So, how did the object come to land?
I think it was invited to land by the psionics team.
I bet it was.
There's 5 components to our operation, which might answer a lot of your questions. So the first component is a calling phase. Calling is either through man or machine-based summoning systems. We have man-based systems, which are our psionic assets, which make a connection through intuition or consciousness with the object and can invite it in. The other is a machine-based calling system, which uses many systems, which I'm not going to go into detail about. You could refer to them as a dog whistle or a lure. And UAP, certain types seem to be specifically attracted or responsive to our machine-based calling systems. It is commonly talked about that what we are getting, even when we weaponize it, is a donation, a gift.
So that's
My goodness.
that's fascinating to me, because I don't believe that these things are machines that are, and this is for YouTube, this is for the audience, obviously, but I have to show that this guy, look, it's not luring. You're doing nothing to lure this thing. You're just allowing it to become close to you, because you have stated that you are willing for this thing to come in, and by specific ways. And so that's the whole purpose behind this. And they think they are doing something, just like when people think that they are moving objects with their hands and telekinesis. We're doing nothing. It's all controlled by another entity that is being allowed to do this because of your actions here on Earth, and that's being done. And so he says, and I like how blatant he is about it. These aren't crashes.
Yeah, these
are gifts they've been given, and others have been saying that there's specific sites that have been given these gifts, that they come and deliver the gifts at. So this is deep. This isn't UFO crashes. This is UFO gifts, and they're giving these egg things. They're giving gifts of technology to push the war efforts to kill people, basically.
Whoa.
And so this is major stuff that's happening.
What's interesting is him and Chris Bledsoe both said the same thing, that Chris Bledsoe said he was scared at first, hiding behind a tree from these 3 UFOs, and then finally he just said, "I surrender." And they said, "Look, we're not here to hurt you, we're here to help you." He literally told a demon, "I surrender to you." And now this guy's saying the same thing. He's like, "We're calling them like a dog whistle. We're out there luring them in." Yeah, Satan is going to come if you're giving him an invitation like that.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Bledsoe was even saying that during his being studied by most of the government agencies that have come to do so, they're trying to understand how to harness the same power to call down these beings as well. That's really what they're there for learning how to do remote viewing and communication with these UAPs. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So why would they want that? Like, I don't understand. There's that question too,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why would they want? They want to communicate with this thing so bad, and that's exactly what happened at the knowledge of good, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. As soon as it was communicated with, the plan was instant. That's how fast things are going to go down. And in fact,
it's still kind of shocking. We talk about it all the time, but it's still kind of shocking when you think realistically. Our government leaders and military are willfully communicating with demons.
I know.
That's
I can't even
nuts,
say
dude.
it. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, I know this. It's only factions. It's not the entire government, and it's only
Right.
probably something to do with the Department of Energy. I don't know. We don't know, but I think there are serious portions of the government that are talking to this thing. In fact, the last my last sermon series, number 9, we went over. I talked about, what was the name of that guy, the rocket scientist, von Braun.
Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun. Yeah, and how we found that he was communicating. He could send telepathy, or that's what he thought he could do. He was sending it to his assistants, and his assistants are like, I was up on stage and I don't understand how I was hearing you in my ear, but I was presenting everything you were telling me. And he's just laughed at that. This guy was involved in Germany during the Nazi Revolution, this occult Theol society. And so he had learned a lot about the occult. I'm sure they were summoning these things so they could gather technology and win the war. And then NASA took it. And they took all the scientists and they brought it in. And you know what happened? You know what? This is what was really surprising to me when I looked at the timeline of all this stuff. Around 1945 or so is when they brought these scientists to the U.S. And then in 1950 is when they started becoming the main contenders inside this NASA and stuff. I got to look at my timeline again. But what happened between those two dates? Roswell happened between those two dates. 1947.
Wow.
And so what you got to wonder, if somewhere between those two times, between when they came here and when they started working full-time in NASA, and somewhere in between there, 1947, if they were demonstrating they were capable of leading this program by giving you all these things that they were able to do in Germany, which could have been calling down these UAP things that were gifts.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. And now we have a huge, by the way, someone contacted me from Roswell, and I'm not going to out them. I won't tell you what their names are, but they asked me to come speak at the church during one of the festivals in the summer. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. Wow.
So that's going to be fun.
Oh, that's super exciting. I forgot what I was going to say. That's super cool, man. And we'll talk later, but we need to put together, I believe, and if you guys in the audience think we should do this too, we need your help, really. But I think me, Brad, Joe Jordan, a couple other people should put on a big event in a big city like Nashville, somewhere close to us, like Nashville, Atlanta, Knoxville. But I don't know. I keep picturing in my mind that we should, as an outreach, not at a church, but as an outreach to those who are questioning, what is this stuff, and there's these people have legitimate questions. When the military is saying, yeah, they're real and all this stuff, people need answers, and the church needs to speak up. And when I say the church, I mean not in the church building, because there's a lot of people that don't think that the church knows what they're talking about, that don't think they're going to get answers from the church. So I think we should have a Strange Normal convention and have different speakers for a night or two, and just pass out awesome literature and Abbey books and all kinds of stuff, and just get the truth out there, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think that we should let's talk after the show, and we'll get that get that thinking. I have this one, or actually two more clips I'm going to show you real quick right now. This is fascinating. Watch this. Actually, let's see our faces. So let me bring it back to 9 and hit this button.
And the thing I find shocking, though, is that the most beautiful thing that you've described to me, the most exciting thing, is what I think our audience is going to have the biggest trouble with, is believing the idea that human beings have the capacity to do things with their minds that have been suppressed.
Yeah. I just kind of smile because that makes it more entertaining for me, because they're going to be shocked. But you know what? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there's more people that believe it. They're just not talking about it. And I can tell you for a fact, even within our world of hardened operators at the highest level, guys that are still in, behind closed doors, we all know it's true, and we have the most emotional talks, like we're part of Oprah's book club. I mean, It's true. And right now we're in a moment where the truth is being obfuscated and twisted.
Because the suppression of this secret, it's not just suppressing technology and weapons, which I can, as much as I don't like the idea of it, I can understand why somebody might have made the decision to do that. It's suppressing spiritual knowledge that you think the public's got a right to know.
Well, and here's where I would say we need to respect the fact that we don't know what we don't know. Imagine weaponizing consciousness. We don't think of, in this story we're telling, we're assuming consciousness is the good, benevolent, harmless thing that should be disclosed, everything we've researched and understood. Imagine if it is the case that consciousness could be weaponized and that people like the President of the United States could be under mind control. That's a huge problem. And imagine if someone could independently develop. We already see this problem with drones. We are so out of control with the drone issue that drones can fly around with a payload and cause mass casualties because we don't have it under control. The FAA doesn't. We just, unfortunately, we don't have the CFRs, the Code of Federal Regulations, and the people hired to deal with something like drones. Imagine if we had to manage and police the malevolent use or the weaponization of consciousness. That could be a really big problem.
Do you think the aliens...
I'll pause it right there for a second.
That's MK Ultra right there.
Yeah.
What he's talking about.
Yeah, and so he's digging it. What I think is really fascinating about that is that he, number one, I have to disagree with him because this is part of the fair use policy. Where look, you can't do stuff with your mind. It has to do more with spiritualism. You got another entity that's willing to do something for you, but it is interesting that you see over and over and over in the occultism, even in, is it X-Men or DC Comics? I think it's DC Comics, where at the very end of the whole thing, they're all going up to this entity that's coming in the clouds with special powers. Yep. And that's what he's saying here. Wow, we can have special powers. We can have mind control. We can control people with their minds and do all these things. It's really going to surprise people. That's what's coming. That's what's coming. Yeah.
Well, Elon wants to microchip people's brains and stuff. I think there is a level of reality to that. MK Ultra is a real thing. Hypnosis is a real thing. I don't know if it can be done completely against your will. I know hypnosis, you have to a hypnotist will say, I can't hypnotize you unless you want to be. Have you heard them say that?
You have to give your consent.
Right. Yeah. But with technology is getting so scary now, the Bible in Genesis, when there was the Tower of Babel happening, God said, the people have become one and this is what they do. Like they're building a tower against me. And he's saying that if I don't destroy this tower and confuse their language, there is nothing that man can't do. Like that's powerful statement from God himself to say that when man comes together with one language, which we have with the internet and everything, there's nothing we can't do. And we know there's like voice to skull technology and stuff like that's like open knowledge now, where they can implant thoughts in your mind and stuff or make you hear voices in your head. And so there's a lot of crazy psychological warfare out there that can be weaponized. But when it comes to controlling somebody's mind, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where the line is drawn,
They're definitely there were some things in here that was like, where did that quote come from? Wow, I know there's other stuff they were talking about that they cut in because that doesn't make a lot of sense. But long and the short of it is, it's content for another day because I'm sure there's a lot more coming out about this, and it's going to be a new strange normal life. But we have one more clip, but I'm not sure if it really relates, so I'm not sure if I should pull it. But
I wanted to say, speaking of the drones, that thing just kind of went away. It's weird how things like that will happen. Like the news will announce this like crazy thing, and then like a week later, it's like they stop talking about it and everybody forgets about it.
Right.
I mean, even when it's like, oh, there's pink slime in the meat, and people are like, oh my, and then a week later, all just, oh. Or like cell phones cause. I remember when the news was saying cell phones cause brain tumors and stuff, and it's like, oh man, and now everybody just uses them.
Yeah.
So if the news stops talking about it, we just forget about it. But just a month ago or 2 months ago or something, they were saying there's drones in New Jersey and all over the world, and we don't know what they are. Mm-hmm. And now nobody's talking about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trump came out and he's like, I'm going to tell people what that is. And he said, it was ours. And that, what
really?
was it? Yeah, he came out and said it was because, I mean, I'm not playing sides here. I'm not saying Biden didn't, but Trump did. I'm actually not satisfied with what Trump provided as far as the explanation for that. But he said that he was going to at least give the people, tell the people what's going on. And he said, they came out and said, okay, they're ours. We were looking for something, I think is what they said. And very vague and not explaining anything. But I have theories.
But they were unlike any drones that we've seen. I've seen the close-up camera videos of them and stuff, and it's like, what is this orb?
That's true. There was orbs mixed in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
They were like, there was like leagues of them going down into the water and all kinds of stuff, like defying stuff that we know about.
This side of heaven, I can't wait to get to the I can never remember what it's called. The Star Trek
Marriage Supper of the Lamb
thing that tells us everything that's going on in the Book of Life. I picture the Book of Life not as dusty books, but actually a room I can go in and have a
like a hologram
holodeck. There we go. Yeah, holodeck. Yeah. But the holodeck Book of Life. Someday that'll come true. But until then.
Yeah.
Well, you want to close this out with prayer? I'm going to give it to Aubrey if you want to close this out.
All right.
Sure.
Okay.
Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to be on Strange Normal with Brad. Thank you for all that are viewing, that we could just have this conversation about unveiling the pagan origins and direction of how this is going to come back again to fulfill this new age, the golden age, and the new world order. Let us all give this to you, but also take it into consideration what is to come and our life with you, that we will be serious about our relationship and prepare to cooperate with the Holy Spirit and be sealed for the day when you come.
Amen.
So Lord, take us and make us willing, and your will be done, and protect all of us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. Hang out just a second. I want to talk to you about events. So just a second while I close up here. Folks, thank you so much for joining tonight. It's been very interesting going over this egg thing, and I think that we haven't seen the last of it. I think it's going to come up a lot more here pretty soon. So if that's you, if you want to dig into this stuff further, we got other things too. We got plane crashes, we got forest fires in California that happened. We got all kinds of stuff that we're covering, and we're going to get back in the swing of things now that we're actually not doing the weekend tour. And which was fantastic, by the way. And if anybody wants to continue that, if that's something that you want me to do to come, this is a ministry. This is something we're trying to do, try to get the word out there. So I'm willing to do that. Contact me. You know how to do it. My name is Bradley. This has been pure strangeness and absolute normalcy. Always strange normal. We'll see you next time.
You're watching Strange Normal, where the truth is the truth.